Everybody wants to talk about the teams at the top of the standings, but tonight we're looking at the teams in the gutter. Top 5 right now, losing records constantly, but tonight the cycle ends and we're going to talk about it. Which of these top 5 teams picking in the draft are going to recycle and make the playoff?
Hey, drop.
Welcome to Double OT. I am Dave. I got Ty. I got Anthony. I got Cass. How we doing?
Evening, boys.
What's up, guys?
Good evening. We are going to skip State of the Franchise tonight. Not a whole lot of updates on the side here for Bears, Dolphins, or for the Texans, really. So we're just going to jump into some blind rankings pretty quick, get a little fun game going. And we have our returning champ tonight, Cass.
He's back.
Cass is going to be going up against Ant. Ant is sitting at 0-1. Cass is sitting at 1-0, and Ty is going to be a first-time judge tonight. I didn't discuss it with you guys, but who wants to start with the NFC?
You want? I'll do NFC just because I'm a Bears guy. You could do the AFC.
Okay. All right. So just a reminder is how this works. We're going to give 5 names, one at a time. He's going to rank them 1 through 5. So I'll give you the first name as always, which is going to be Jackson Dart. He's going to rank them 1 through 5, and they're locked in. So we don't know who's coming next. If he puts them at 5 and then we get 4 worse quarterbacks, he's going to look silly. So Jackson Dart, Anth.
I'm a huge fan of Jackson Dart, honestly. Outside of the fact that he needs to take care of himself and stop getting hit in the head and stop with the concussions, like I'd like to see him have a long career. He's a gamer, and he was a winner. I mean, he had some games last year. I'm gonna start him, I think, at 4. And the reason why I say that is because I feel like that gives me a 5th spot for like a worse quarterback. I still think Dart maybe needs another year or 2, but with the new coaching staff, the weapons he's got, I'm hoping they get some protection. I'm expecting a pretty big year out of Dart, so I'm gonna put him at 4.
Next one is staying in the NFC, but with a different team, and that is Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, I'm going to put at 5. I mean, so there's my 5th. You know, he's had some success in his career. He's had some failures, you know, but him in Minnesota now, I mean, he's going to have a pretty good year. I'm thinking like that is a perfect ideal situation. He's going to prove it type deal with the contract. So, you know, as a Bear fan, I'm hoping he has a disaster season. I'm not seeing that. I think the Vikings are going to be for real. I would say, yeah, I'm going to put him at 5. Just give me 3 better quarterbacks, please.
All right. Well, I think here's one. That would be Sam Darnold.
I don't really like Sam Darnold. I'm going to put Sam Darnold 3. He's a Super Bowl champion. You can't take that away. He was a turnover machine, although when we got into the playoffs, he kind of got a little better with that. He was more like your game manager type. He's got some weapons on the outside. Of course, probably the best wide receiver in the game. I'm kind of expecting a little downswing, not just for him, but for the Seahawks in general. We'll kind of touch on that a little bit later today, but I'm going to put him at 3.
3. All right. 2 more to go. And the next one is Bryce Young.
Oh, boy.
All right, Cass, you could just take the win. No, so he's 2 then in this case, like just another one that hasn't been consistent enough. Like he's coming off last year where he showed some improvement. Team made the playoffs. They got really better, in my opinion, on the defensive side. I'm hoping, you know, that, you know, they're in more games where they have the lead. He's not going to be as pressured. He's not going to be having to throw 40 times, but still, I need another year from him. I need more consistency.
Yeah. I got to say, this is by far the toughest list. I think they've gotten a little harder, you know, the 3 we've done.
Yeah, this is brutal.
Here's your last one. You ready for this one?
So this is my number 1 quarterback. Like, of
this
course.
is your number 1 quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa.
Well,
2,
Tua's
2
number
years,
1.
2-3 years ago, that wouldn't have been such a crazy remark leading the league in passing.
Tua was number 1. Just the arm strength just kills me with him. And, you know, he had some accuracy, like traits. I know he was a consistent, accurate quarterback a few years back. You know, look, we'll see what he does with Stefanski. You know, he's probably got the job. I know they might go into it with a little battle there. But, yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I'm thinking back on my list now, and I'm like, I would probably put Dart number 1 out of my 5. You know, and maybe...
Yeah, I mean... Yeah. That's a tough list.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, who would you guys have as the number 1 out of that 5?
Out of those, I'd probably go Darnold just because of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
My list, looking at it, I'd probably go Darnold, Dart, Young, Kyler, Tua.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know,
Yeah, I don't
man.
know.
Kyler has Justin Jefferson, so
Kyler and
I might
Tua
move
are
him up
like,
a little bit for
you should
that.
just
That
leave
makes up for a
4
lot of bad
blank, and both of
plays.
them will be 5.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so just so you have an idea here and understand, Ty, of Anthony's wonderful list here. Tua number 1, Bryce Young number 2, Sam Darnold 3, Jackson Dart 4, and Kyler Murray 5. Okay. All right, Cass, here we
Wait,
go.
do I
Number
even really
1.
have to go? I mean,
You have to
Nah.
go because the
okay,
first name
okay.
I'm seeing, this is going to be an interesting one, and let's see if there's a bias play here. It's Malik Willis.
We'll go 5. Unproven. Doesn't have a lot of weapons. I'm gonna go
Anthony
5.
wins.
I'm gonna go 5.
Ties, you got to know your judge. You got to know your
I
judge
know.
on these.
I know. I know.
I mean, the guy's rocking the hat. Oh boy, not good.
All right, quarterback 2 is Drake May.
Drake, May. Let's go 3. Let's go 3.
Wow.
Just went to
okay,
the
3.
Super Bowl. I still think it was a little bit of a fluke. They looked like they didn't belong there, but he had a good season. He was solid. I say he repeats it. And the team got better this offseason, so we'll go with 3.
And then our third quarterback is Shador Sanders.
Oh, that's my boy. But
Gosh.
He
he
loves
in
Shador.
Cleveland. I think he gets the starting job over Deshaun Watson, and we really get to see what he's going to do. So I'm gonna put him another really not really proven quarterback. I'll put him at 4.
4. All right, we got 2 more to go. Number 4 is Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. That's tough. That's tough because he's up there in like top 4.
There's some really good
I
quarterbacks
think-
left.
I
Yeah.
think that I know. I'm gonna put him at 2. I think like very good. He could be very. He's better than anyone that we talked about so far. But I think there's just better quarterbacks left in the
I think it's-
AFC. So I'm gonna put him at 2.
I think it's quite possible that you guys both have the worst possible number 1 quarterbacks on your list. The last name here for you, Cass, is Geno Smith.
Oh my God, that is the worst. Jesus Christ, he was my number 5. I was like, if a Jet quarterback comes up, there has to be 5. God, I messed that up.
Automatic.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if anyone can be good at the Jets uniform. I think they're cursed. I don't know. But listen, Geno's a solid quarterback. He obviously needs a good system and a good supporting cast, which Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, okay, but I don't know, man. I just don't trust the Jets. But he's my number 1, so we'll see. I still think
All
my
right.
list is better than Ant's.
It is. I mean, you know.
yeah,
mine
probably.
was
but we're going to present it to our judge.
But
Yeah.
let me before we get a ruling on this, let me ask you guys
Sure.
just around the table quickly 2 questions because I think this is pretty interesting. If you look at the number 1s that we both picked for both of our lists, right? So Geno for you, Cass, and Tua for me. Who's number 1 of those 2?
Probably Tua.
Yeah, I would
but-
say Tua probably.
Tua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would lean Tua. You
All
would
right.
say Geno?
If you had an option and you needed a quarterback for your team, the Texans and the Bears, you're picking Tua over Geno? Come on. It's not
I don't-
happening.
You might as well just chalk it up to number 1 overall pick. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You know,
Yeah.
Tua, guys,
neither.
I'm not going to let the Tua
G-
slander, you know, he had a rough year, but Tua led the league in passing. Geno never led the league in passing. Tua leads the league in passing. You know, he led the league in completion percentage. So let's not knock
He also
Tua.
leads
like,
the league in concussions and not finishing
yeah,
seasons.
I get that,
and
but let's not
negative
call
rushing
Tua
yards.
like a scrub
All
here.
right, so quickly,
I
let's
can
just take a
throw farther
vote.
than him.
Let's just take a vote. So Cass is on Geno, and then the other 3 of us are on Tua on that. In that,
Yeah, if I had to choose, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Last one,
That's
really
wrong.
quick. Last one, really quick. So, Cass, are you moving Malik up to 4 over Sanders if you had to redo, or who?
1A,
you think's
1B.
better there?
1A, 1B to me. I mean, both unproven. I mean, I know Tyler
Cass has
doesn't like it,
officially
but
been
they're both
disqualified for
unproven.
the slander on
They
the
both
league.
have a lot of potential. Anything you say about about Malik, you say about Shador. So, I mean, except like maybe the running ability. It's all potential at this point. Like, you can't point to something to say this is going to be a good choice.
Did you see Malik Willis's 40-yard throw in practice today? I'm all in.
I saw that.
My
I saw
God.
that. What was the caption? Malik to Malik or something stupid?
Yeah, Malik to Malik. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not
ex-
good when your number 1 receiver is another Malik.
Malik.
Yeah.
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 So let's review the list. Geno Smith 1, Bo Nix 2, Drake May 3, Shador Sanders 4, and Malik Willis 5.
Yeah. So
So
for
tie.
for
yeah.
Cass purposes, he obviously got the better quarterbacks. You know, I think his list make a little more sense. The only thing that I personally would change was I would flip Drake May and Bo Nix. Like, I think Drake May is a superstar in the making.
Yeah.
Like, he's really good. I know, you know, they struggled in the Super Bowl, whatever. Malik Willis, I would 1000% put him over Shador Sanders, but and then obviously the Geno thing of obviously in Tua. But Anth was got a tough pill to swallow. I think his head was right. Like Jackson Dart to me, like that was his first pick. Like to me, he's not that good. He's got a lot of work to do. So putting him at, I think you put him at 5, like makes a lot of sense. I think logically what Anthony did made a lot of sense. It's just the cards did not go his way in this game. But Cass's list in general just is better just because of the quarterbacks. But I see what Anthony was doing there on his logic.
I got one more thing that I just want to throw out just so we could all
did we get a ruling? So did Cass win?
I think
Cass
Cass.
won,
Yeah, Cass
Undefeated.
won.
Undefeated.
So
It was-
just before you go, Anth, I just want to clarify that would be 0-2 for you.
Yeah,
Is that
I'm
0-2
judging
for
next
you,
week.
okay?
Whatever
2-0
the
for
next position-
Cass, and 1-1 for Ty.
1-1.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, go ahead, Anth.
Another just a dream thing for us NFL fans to think about. Just the league in general that is going to have Drake May and Bo Nix for the next 10 to 15 years. I mean, that is going to be, in my opinion, the next Allen and Mahomes to take over. And then if you look at the NFC side and you have Jaden and you have Caleb, and all coming from the same draft class, like I'm just so excited just to see the quarterback play in the rivalries take over. Like the league is in it is so tough to find a quarterback in this league, but like if you think of like the top maybe 10 quarterbacks, like the league is in a great spot with that. Like that's gonna be a lot of fun. Anyway,
Yeah, I think that would be something fun. Is maybe a next episode or something. We can go through like the last 10 drafts and like rank them or something based on, because that's crazy to have 4 Pro Bowl, All Pro caliber quarterbacks, especially in one draft.
yeah,
Let's
and I
flip-
don't even know, we're missing someone else in there too.
Yeah, there's another, and I'm blanking right now.
Yeah, well, the Penix I know came out of that, but I think there's even an additional one.
Yeah.
Think
Well,
about it, but that's crazy.
Yeah, let's flip over to this year's draft. Just now, a couple weeks away. We've been talking a lot about it. It seems like every year there's one team picking in this top 5 range that feels a lot closer to one piece away to making the playoffs. Let's talk through the top 5 here a little bit and maybe give us a rundown, of what you expect for them draft-wise, and then let's wrap that with maybe one of these teams or a team that didn't make the playoffs to make the playoffs next year. But start us off with the Raiders. Is Mendoza just that's it? No choice?
Yeah, I think Mendoza, that's it. And one of the things we hadn't touched on that has happened since our last episode was the Kirk Cousins signing. And to me, the Raiders came out weeks ago and they said, whoever we draft, Mendoza, we're going to not rush him. And he's going to, sit out most of the season. And in today's league, you just don't find that. And like, again, just bravo to the Raiders. Like I have loved everything that the Raiders have done this offseason. Like with the new GM, the new coach, they seem to be figuring it out and bringing in Kirk Cousins. I mean, look, I'm not saying that they're going to make the playoffs. I wouldn't rule that out with Kirk Cousins. Like we'll see what type of Kirk Cousins we get. I know he's getting up there in age, but to have him and then have your quarterback, your franchise sit behind him and learn from him, I think is just so fantastic and so ideal. Such an ideal situation for Mendoza. So like, I absolutely love it. I love what they did on the defensive side in free agency. They still have Max Crosby. So like, that fan base has got to be ecstatic. I mean, it's been so long, but I'm like happy for them.
Yeah. And let's talk about number 2, the Jets. They have multiple first rounders, but here specifically at number 2, I think the expectation is edge. And I don't know if you guys saw Peter Schrager's most recent mock draft come out. He actually had David Bailey over Arvell Reese at 2. And so I wanted to ask what you guys thought about the Jets pick there.
Yeah, I think because obviously the quarterback, they need a quarterback, but obviously they're not going to go with Ty Simpson at 2. That the quarterbacks fall off there. So I think for them, they need a lot of holes. Honestly, man, like would they even consider moving down a little bit, maybe gathering more capital if they like both Arvell and Bailey? It seems like the edge position is something that they need. They need to kind of revamp that defense with Aaron Glenn and stuff like that. So they're obviously in a good spot long term. They got multiple draft picks this year. They got multiple draft picks the fall. They are in a good spot to kind of get this thing going. As Cass said before, they are one of the few teams, along with the Miami Dolphins, that are just complete dumpster fires for many years. But they at least have the draft capital, and hopefully, they make the right picks, and they can kind of jumpstart that getting things going here with wins.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Anth, you alluded to it last episode that your philosophy is draft on the line, whether that's offensive or defensive. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Jets went almost a full season without a turnover, an interception
They
last
didn't
year.
have any. Yeah, they didn't
None.
have any.
Yeah, okay. So for a
None.
defensive-minded coach like Aaron Glenn, like great defensive player in his day and whatnot, and great in Detroit, that was shocking, right? And I think a lot of that is not so much on the cornerbacks or the fact that they traded Sauce Gardner, right? It's that there is no
That
pressure.
D-line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
I think that's
D-line.
absolutely key one. Any
For
other
sure.
thoughts on what maybe the Jets could do before we move on to the Cardinals?
It's got to be defense. You bring in that head coach who is a great defense coordinator in the league, like really well respected, and you need an identity. And yeah, like to your point, Dave, like goal for me is always going to be addressing your offensive defensive line, unless you need the quarterback, which they do. But I don't know what this class is, if this is the year to do that. They did bring in Geno Smith, right? So like a bridge quarterback, but like I could see them maybe going quarterback, maybe with their second first round pick, or they have the picks next year to go up in a much deeper quarterback class. So just like get your defensive franchise, one of the top edges. And I think that makes a lot of sense, and start there.
Yeah. And so pick 3 then is going to be the Cardinals, life after Kyler Murray. I don't think obviously with the landscape of the draft that quarterback is an option at 3. So let's take that off the table. If Arvell Reese is there because the Jets do go Bailey, do they have to jump at someone like that, or are they sticking with Francis Malgoa, the tackle? What are your thoughts on what that could look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cass, you could jump in too, but I think for them, like, they got a offensive minded coach too. So maybe they go O-line. But again, either way, like build the trenches, O-line, D-line. If you're not going quarterback, like Anthony said, like this is like something that, Cass and I talk about on the rebuild with the Dolphins. Like that's the focus. O-line, D-line, O-line, D-line, O-line, D-line. Because when you dominate those positions, like look at like the dominant defenses like the Texans, the Seahawks, like on the defensive side of the ball, like you can change the game. Like you don't need to have that superstar quarterback if you can control the line of scrimmages. So to me, like either side makes a ton of sense, however they feel fit, for needs and whatnot. I'm not too familiar with their specific roster, but it makes the most sense. Just O-line, D-line.
Yeah, here's what I would say with the Cardinals. I think in my opinion, the draft really starts at 3 with them. I think they're in a prime spot because number one, they could either dress the offensive or defensive line and get a blue chip prospect. There's no doubt about it. Now, the other thing that I could see them doing is they could be a team that does trade back. Like everyone has love to the Titans at 4, right? So like if there's a team that wants that running back, they need to probably get in front of the Titans to do so. So like I could see the Cardinals moving back to acquire more draft capital. The other thing too is like I said like a couple weeks ago, like from an offensive tackle standpoint, there's a couple guys that are probably your blue chip guys, the tackle out of Miami, the tackle out of Utah. So you got the Giants at 5, you got the Titans at 4, in my opinion, who should go tackle at 4, not this running back crap. Like, so is there going to be a team that wants to get one of those top tackles that wants to jump those two teams at 4 and 5? Like, I think the Cardinals could be a team that move back is basically my point, whether it's for Love or whether it's for one of the tackles, and just kind of like, maybe they do go quarterback, Dave, like if they fall back to the low teens or something like that, who knows? But I don't know if they're going to pick at 3. I'm not seeing it.
So I know something that's new. Maybe it's new this year, maybe it's new last year, but in like the combine and scouting process, they're now evaluating a lot more with analytics. So like something, I might be getting it wrong, but I think it's called like the star potential scale. And so like an Arvell Reese, for example, had like the highest % chance to be like the next Micah Parsons, whether it was like 12% or something. My point is if, who, in my opinion, the most potential player, right, and obviously the scouts and the analytics show that too. If Bailey goes to and position of need is offensive tackle or trade down to get multiple assets, if there's a guy on the board that says, look, there's a 12% chance he's the next Micah Parsons, but there's also like an 80% chance that he's just going to be like a good starter at the very least. Like what does that look like to you with what this new process looks like? Is that an evaluation that you're going to lean more into of getting that potential next, difference maker?
Well, it just seems like with anything else, right, guys? Like, what AI is coming up with their technology, and a team's going to use any type of resource they can to kind of help because, look, we all have our teams that we root for, but like you could say the same for any team in the league, including the Eagles and including Howie Roseman and whatever. Drafting in the NFL is difficult. Like it is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you get into the middle round. So like anything that these organizations can use to kind of help them, they're going to use it, so it makes sense in my head. I mean, to your point, like if it's not quarterback, it's edge rusher is probably your second most important position. It's like a game wrecker. And so there's a couple on the board there for the Cardinals if that's the route they want to go. Like I said, I think they are in a prime spot to do many different things.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of best available. And one of the hardest things to get in the NFL is star power. So if you can get that, all of the good teams have it, all of the bad teams want it, I think you go for it.
Definitely. I can't disagree with that. No, can't disagree with that.
And so maybe the player with the most star talent at pick number 4 is looking like Jeremiah Love to the Titans. Cass, what's your opinion on a team like so many pieces away, similar to Miami, using a top 5 pick, especially on a position like running back?
Yeah, I'm never a fan of running back in the first round. And no matter how talented the running back is, because usually your team isn't like ready to move to that next level. And the most recent example I can think of, and there's probably more, but is Saquon to the Giants. Just think about all the years that Saquon was like, hey, he's supposed to be the best running back. He did amazing stuff, and the Giants were just crap. And I just don't think it helps for winning, and I don't think it helps for long-term sustainability. So I'm not a fan of it. I think that's what the Titans do. I mean, every draft, someone does something weird, and you're like scratching your head. So I either think it's going to be the Jets just because they're a horrible organization, or I think the Titans are going to draft the running back Love there for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're not a team, in my opinion, that's ready for the toy. And honestly, I've thrown that out on X multiple times to like the Titan fan base. And like, I think a lot of them kind of agree with that. Love is the sexy pick, but like, you're not ready for that, Tennessee. Like, please avoid that. Please avoid that. Let's go ahead.
To me, like the running back position is probably the easiest position to find value in the middle rounds that run just as fast. Maybe they were at a small, like we see it all the time. Like the Bears, for example, like Monungai, like he was what, like a mid, the guy's an absolute monster.
7th round pick.
He was a 7th round pick. Like
he was the last running back taken.
He was your guy. He took snaps away from DeAndre Swift. Like Devon HM was a 3rd round pick for a few years back. Like you can find these guys. You don't need, to me, it's much harder to find a superstar left tackle or an offensive lineman or a defensive end that, like you said, can make game-changing plays. Not that the running backs can't, but you can find those guys later in the round. So, like, to me, it does not make sense to do that.
Let me just ask, because if the Titans are maybe, they're not a year away, but maybe if they're 2, 3, probably, I think 4 is stretching it. If you're a GM and you think your team is 2 to 3 years away and you think this running back is generational, for Cass's example, Saquon spent 6 years in New York. Obviously, statistically, it was amazing. New York did nothing. The next year, he went to Philly, rushed for 2,000 yards, and they won a Super Bowl. It's important, the running back position, right? And longevity is possible. Look at Derrick Henry. McCaffrey's been hurt, but he's still elite when he's there. And Saquon is the biggest example, right? He was the one guy coming out. Like, to me, Love is the biggest prospect coming out at running back since Saquon. And Saquon has lived up to the hype. Did he help the Giants win? No, but I think the Giants were in such a different position than the Titans, right? Titans have their quarterback. They think they have their head coach. They've had a great offseason, free agency wise. I'm not saying that I love running backs in the first round, and especially in the top 5, but like if you think you're 2 years out and this guy is going to be the dynamic difference, it's a question to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I get them. I get it. Like, but again, like Anthony said, he's like, who's their number 1 receiver in Tennessee? Do we know? Like off the top, like I don't know off the top of my head. Like
Dykes?
They signed
DK. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like Cam Ward.
They signed. Who'd they sign? One of the
Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay,
yeah. I mean, dude, it's Cam Ward needs development. Like, is
they before you talk weapons, this is my problem. You need protection. Like you have got to protect your franchise.
And do we really think Cam Ward is that dude? Like, I don't know,
We don't
You need
know
guys to
until we get
open up a hole too. I mean,
right.
the running back just can't like create space every play. So
This is what I'm going to
you look at
say. Like,
Ashton Jensen and with
Yeah,
the
Vegas
Raiders
did.
last year, same issue.
100%,
So
100%, Cass.
yeah,
I feel like the running back position and your offensive line go hand in hand, right? So, like, if you have an offensive line that is run blocking, outside zone, all these other various, tech formations that these, callers like to run nowadays. If you have a line that's creating holes for you, like Monangai, the last running back in the draft taken, is gonna have success. That's
Yeah.
just a hole is a hole, right? Like I understand that there's vision. I understand there's, you got the spin and the juke and the stiff arm and all this other, fun stuff that the running backs like to do. But like a hole's a hole, right? Like you're designed to run through the A gap or the B gap or whatever the gap is. And like, yeah, some players, some running backs got the cutbacks and all this other stuff. But I don't know. I just like, to your point, Dave, I understand what you're saying. He is generational. I don't mind the top 5. I just don't know if I like the Titans doing it. Like if a team wants to trade up and draft a running back in the top 5, fine, but not the Titans.
Yeah. I mean, and they're young and they've got a lot of young guys that are hoping, right, to take that next step. And that's the same for most teams. Another team looking to take the next step is pick number 5, and that's the New York Giants. Excitement there with Harbaugh and Dart, Scadaboo coming off an injury, Neighbors coming off an injury, like a lot of young talent, but I think a lot of hope and potential there. If Jeremiah Love falls, Titans don't go for him. They trade down or they get a tackle or whatever that is. I know there's been links to New York as well. What are you doing as a Giants GM here for your draft?
I'm going offensive line. I'm taking
I
one
mean,
of the
they had
top.
some big news too, though. Their star defensive tackle just requested a trade, so I don't know how that changes their plans, like kind of undermining it a little bit. But see, they're in a little different to me at though, like with the Giants, like we've seen Dart be like has that potential, whereas Cam Ward hasn't done it. They have a superstar receiver in Malik Neighbors. A running back there, like Harbaugh comes from like that Derrick Henry. I know they're not the same type of player, but like understands like that kind of using the running back and kind of using that load where obviously Derrick Henry did a ton of that, in Baltimore and stuff like that. So I don't know.
I'm gonna
They're
say it.
I mean, I get it, but
Yeah.
maybe they take that.
I
Go ahead,
think they
Cass.
take it. I still think it's not a good move, but I think the pressure of having a New York team with the fans and the media pushes them to get star power. And like you get another name in there with Dart, Scadaboo, and Neighbors. And I think that's really what the fan base and the media wants. And I think that they might even move up one spot to get them. I mean, if I was the Titans, like I would move back one if I could get another asset.
Do not see a world in which a Harbaugh is going to take a running back or a weapon for that matter that early. Just I don't. I really think. I really think they're going to go one of the offensive line or defensive line. Okay, so like maybe like if one of the edges guys are there, but they got some talent on the edge already over there. I'm gonna say protect the franchise. Like I think John Harbaugh knows that, and like he got killed. I mean, I know part of that was on him with his running and whatnot, but like you have to keep him upright. And to your point, like earlier, Cass, like if you don't have the offensive line, it doesn't matter. Like you're not going to get much production from your running back if your line is trash. You're just not. So it's just not the time for New York. Like they are under a great thing right now. Like high on them. I love what they're going to do this year, but like don't mess this up. Like keep Dart upright.
Yeah, and so the next thing we were going to talk about was teams that did not make the playoffs last year. Which one is the most likely to make it this year? Anth, I know pre-show you talked about the Giants while we're talking about them. Is there anything else you want to add before we maybe reveal Ty's choice?
Yeah, you talk about with the team that didn't. Yeah, the Giants are my team this year to make the playoffs that did not make it last year. I think they're scary good. I think they had some coaching issues, but like that has been addressed, and I think like they were a young team going into the year 2 with the quarterback. You're getting back, Neighbors healthy. Hopefully Scat comes back healthy. They got the talent, but now, like I said, they got the head coach. Like it's going to be a new locker room there. And, I think it's a tough division. Like you still got the Eagles, you got the Cowboys to mess with, but like I'm going to pick the Giants as my team to make the playoffs next year.
Yeah, the
And
one
Ty,
thing
what
about
about
the
for you?
Giants too, Dave, really quick, just
Yeah.
The Ravens struggled in late game scenarios, just as Brian Daboll did. So, like, just because Harbaugh's in there, and we know he's won games, but the Giants' issues last year is they could not finish. The issues with the Ravens, they could not finish. So, it would be interesting to see if something gives. In terms of my team, who I think like there's got to be a year where Joe Burrow does not get hurt. They don't get off to a slow start. They have a Super Bowl caliber offense. I know their defense is trash. But this is a team that has, Joe Burrow has led this team to the Super Bowl. He's beat Patrick Mahomes. Like, this has got to be the year. If not, that coaching staff is gone. Like, changes, he might ask out. Like, who knows what happens if this team falls off the rails this year? So I think I think the Bengals, are a team that make the playoffs.
I'm a little surprised that you went with Giants making the playoffs because if I'm a Giants fan and I'm in the playoffs, I want Love as my starting running back, not Scatterboo coming off a season-ending injury. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But my team will be Patrick Mahomes. He's going to come back from injury. Justin Fields is going to hold him down, win half the games he plays, and Mahomes is going to have one last ride with Travis Kelce, and everyone in the NFL is going to hate it.
You heard it here first. The Kansas City Mahomes to the playoffs. I'm going with probably the easiest, except for maybe that one. Tough division, though, is what I'll say for the Chiefs, which makes the road a little bit more difficult. But for me, I'm going to go Lions, who probably play in the toughest division in football. Maybe NFC with the Rams and all them. But yeah, I'm going to go Lions. Like, they're just too talented. I think Dan Campbell's a great head coach. Obviously last year transitioning to losing both coordinators. I think that they're going to bounce back and be totally fine. So I'm going Lions. Let's flip it now to a team.
Can I give you one more really quick? Just no one threw them
Can
out.
I say no?
Yeah, no, you can't. One team that no one threw out that I think maybe we'd all agree on would be the Ravens, right? I mean, do we all think that they'd come back? No, you're shaking your head. You don't think
I'm saying no. Well, here's the reason is I think Ty's bet of the Bengals is just as good as a bet as the Ravens or the Steelers. Like, that division is so bounce around to me, and really whatever winner comes out of that division really, like, they're not scary in the playoffs. I mean, the Ravens have had the 1 seed or the 2 seed how many times and then just don't do anything even when they do get to the playoffs. I love Lamar, but there's a lot of pieces that go into building a football team outside of quarterback, and you just lost your head coach, and I don't see it, but that is a winnable division. So I won't say no. But I'm going to flip it now. Let's go teams that did make the playoffs. Give me one team that's going to miss out, and I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. I love Drake May. I think he is a top 5 quarterback in this league. Not AFC, not NFC, just in the league. Like, he's a stud. But I think that there was a lot of above par performance, especially from the defense. I think the offensive line got exposed in the Super Bowl, for what they really were. They had the easiest schedule, if I recall correctly, last year. So I'd like to see them prove it, in a division with Josh Allen. I want to see you do it again. So that's where I'm at.
If they get AJ Brown next month or in 2 months, does that change your thought, or would you still have them?
Probably a little bit. I mean, I like Mike Vrabel. I think he's a great head coach. Like, quarterback, head coach. I think those are 2 great points to start at. But right now, yeah, if they got AJ Brown, I would like their chances of making the playoffs. Yes.
Yeah, do you want to go?
Yeah. So one of I think the hardest things to do in the National Football League when you're a Super Bowl champion is to get back to the Super Bowl. Like, unless you're like a Mahomes or you're a Brady or whatever. I'm going to say the Seahawks are going to be the team that doesn't make the playoffs next year. They lost a lot of talent this offseason, and I don't really feel like they've acquired that much to kind of match that. And it's not even so much that, but like, I think you're going to see Darnold take a step back, and that division, like, I think the Niners are going to come out of that division. I think the Rams are going to come out of that division. And then you have the teams, like, I'm thinking of it from like a wild card standpoint. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to be bad this year, but like, they might be a 9-win team, 10-win team and still not make it, because you got teams like the Lions, you got teams like the Packers, the Bears, the NFC West teams. I just think they're going to be the odd man. Like the Lions were this year, I'm going to say the Seahawks are going to be the odd team out.
Yeah, for me, Anthony's not going to like this and completely disagree with me, but a team that I felt like kind of similar to the New England Patriots, just a lot of things went their way, which is the Chicago Bears last year. Now, remember, guys, on paper, the Chicago Bears have the toughest schedule this upcoming season with win percentages from last year. The Dolphins actually are number 2, just as a side note. But I think the division is very tough. Like the Packers are really good. Obviously, Dave just mentioned Detroit. They're coming, and the Minnesota Vikings are coming. We like the pairing with with Kyler and their coaching staff. So I just think that the Bears had a lot of good things last year, and the ball might not bounce their way. It's a tough division. There's no easy in the NFC in general. There's no easy game. So I'm going to say the Bears, and I think they take a step back.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I am nervous about it. Look, we won the division last year. Going into it this upcoming year, it's a coin toss. It really is. And I think I even said that like with the Packers last year about it being a coin toss. Look, if the Bears make the playoffs again this year, it's going to have to be Caleb Williams taking another step forward, which I think he will. We and not just Caleb Williams, but like our weapons on the offside, that connection with Loveland, that connection with Rome, and the other weapons and the other boys there. So I don't know. I hope you're wrong, Ty, but like I can understand that for sure. Honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna go Steelers, but a good point was made. That division is just like a coin toss. It's kind of like a toss up. I'm actually gonna go Rams. I don't like what's going on with the Rams. You got Stafford, he's getting older, and then Puka's, I don't know, he's halfway losing his mind. I don't know what's going on. You can't like Devontae Adams is getting old. I'm surprised he made it through the season as healthy as he did. And then their running backs aren't that good. So I mean, I'm gonna say the Rams. They'll miss it.
Well, it could be a situation like to your point, like again, which was my thinking with the Seahawks in that division, and then again when you look at the NFC North teams, like there's going to be a good team that's going to miss the playoffs, and Detroit was that this year, and we don't even talk about it but I had the Giants making the playoffs, like if you just go back 5 minutes ago, right? So like, are they going to be a wild card team? Are they going to win their division? I don't know, but like there's going to be a few teams.
And remember, the 49ers got Mike Evans. Like they're going to be very good. These teams that, like we know it every year. There's teams that we think are really bad on our schedule. Like, oh, that's a win, but they turn out like the Colts last year started 8-0 or whatever it was before Daniel Jones. Like these teams that are supposedly going to be bad are good, and there's good teams bad with injuries or things just don't go their way. So it happens every year. There's a surprise for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to just do one little quick prediction before we wrap this up here. So of the teams picking in the top 5 that we talked about earlier, okay? So that would be the Raiders, the Jets, the Cardinals. Sorry, where are we here? Titans and Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Raiders, Jets, Cardinals, Titans, Giants. Which of those 5 teams is most likely to win a Super Bowl in the next 10 years?
Giants.
Yeah. I would
Giants.
say I'm going to say the Jets only because I like that. Like they got to, at one time, they got to get it right. They have a ton of capital. So if they get I believe next year's draft class, you're going to have multiple like top 10, 5 quarterbacks. Like they got to get one of those. Like you get a quarterback, things change quickly. We all know that.
They don't.
It
You
hurts
don't
my
know the
soul
pain
to
of being
say
a
it.
Jets fan. That's all that is. I will say the most obvious is the Giants, but to be a little bit different, I'll say the Raiders. Like I like
think the
their
Raiders for sure.
thought process of taking it slow, building organically. I can get on board with that. So I'll say the Raiders.
I think that's
think-
fair.
I really think all 4 of these teams, except the Cardinals, are like legitimate options. I think the Raiders are doing it the right way. I think the Titans think they have their quarterback, and so like that's a big difference. Jets have just so much capital, right? And at some point, as Ty said, like, man, you can't lose forever, can you?
Yeah.
Maybe. I guess we'll find out. And then Giants, I think probably the most ready of the teams now, but does that mean they'll be ready to win a Super Bowl now? That's a different question. So I'm going to personally go with the Titans because I like Cam Ward's potential the most out of any of these quarterbacks. I love Jackson Dart. I don't love his style for longevity.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's as simple as I can put that.
That's fair.
But let's wrap this one up, guys. We appreciate you listening, and we'd appreciate if you could subscribe below at OOT Pod. And that was it. I'm Dave, as Ty, Anth, and Cass, and we appreciate you.
See you guys.
See ya.
Hey, drop.